Good morning, everyone. Virgo here. It is September 4th, 2019, and happy Wednesday to everyone. In keeping with my promise to start the new series, Psuedolaws, I'm going to start out this series with information regarding the false civil flag that's currently being sold on all kinds of SovSit sites across the web. We're going to start with none other than the infamous Anna von Reitz and her shameless way of collecting funds through fraud. So you'll notice that on Anna von Reitz's page, that is her product selling page, you see a picture of Anna, and then you also see a picture of the flag. Also note that it states that this page is an index of the writings of Judge Anna von Reitz from Big Lake, Alaska. And by the way, we've already debunked that. Anna has never been a judge, still isn't a judge, any form of a judge. But regardless, that's not what we're here for today. What we're going to be talking about today is the fraudulent and falsified civil flag Anna sells. And many others that are out there on the web are using it and selling it. Let's just take a look at all of the different things that Anna actually sells on her site. So she's selling prints and she's selling artwork. Let's go ahead and go back up here and actually go under the flag picture. Here we go. These prints, she claims are original art. She's selling those. And then we've got these printed paperback, "You know something is wrong when an American affidavit is probable cause," documentation that she sells on Amazon, printed paperback of a document or a Disclosure 101, What You Need to Know, a compilation of some of Anna's earlier writings. Can't wait for that. The entire website on a flash drive, so you're welcome to that if you would like to live in fantasy land with unicorns and leprechauns. And then, of course, it comes on a DVD disc. But yes, this is where we need it to be. The U.S. civil flags. Well, for Anna site, you can order a 3x5 bright flag that's very high quality for just $39 plus shipping. And if that's too steep for you, you can get one of the little flags, the little tiny ones, 6-inch by 9-inch. That's a very high quality small flag for just $29.90 plus shipping. But let's take a look at where this actual flag came from according to the claims. Myths and misunderstandings about flags, both real and fantasy-based, abound in the vexillological world as they do in most fields in our modern world of the internet. Conspiracists, kooks, politicians, religious leaders, and scholars all vie to prove the existence of their own pet version of reality without filters or actual facts and real research. Basically, you can post almost anything on the World Wide Net, and not only will some believe it and accept it as fact, but they'll also spread the nonsense far and wide for you. No marketing plan needed. The myth of this existence of a civilian national flag is a prime example of how this works. This very short essay that I'm reading from you is an explanation of how these falsehoods are spread. The quotes examined are directly from the internet and continue to be pushed and expanded upon. The so-called United States civilian flag, which seems to have started by an erroneous identification of the customs flag, apparently is not a recent phenomenon. As the clipping from the 1870s attests, basically, there never has been a different civilian version of the national flag. Yet this urban legend continues to be believed by many. In the picture, the flag being flown beneath the United States flag is that of the United States Customs Service. As a civilian branch of the United States government, it was responsible to keeping illegal products outside of U.S. borders. It also regulated what could leave the United States and was partially responsible for who could enter the United States. It was dissolved on March 1st of 2003 and became an agency of the United States Department of Homeland Security. It is now called the United States Bureau of Customs and Border Protection. So, how did this flag gain the false impression that it was a civilian version of the United States flag? The trick to getting an urban legend believed is to make statements that are true but connect them to unrelated or false facts, thus making the whole thing seem very plausible. The existence of a separate civilian version of our national flag is a perfect example of this strategy, and here's how you do it. Strategy 1. Show a picture of a flag and then change the caption. Take a look at this picture. It shows the customs ensign being raised over the United States appraiser stores at the port of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on July 4th of 1919. We even know the names of those that are in the picture. They are, from left to right, Eli G. Corbley, Messenger; Harold C. Harbison, Examiner; John B. Thomas, Opener and Packer; Charles A. Davis, Inspector; W. S. Bowler, Examiner; and James Holohan, Appraiser of Merchandise. However, if we want to create an urban legend, we simply change the caption under the flag to, quote, "The flag of peace, U.S. civilian flag in 1919 at the end of World War I," end quote. Now the casual reader will assume that the Customs Service flag was a protest flag at a peace rally. The only flags used at the 1919 peace rally were standard stars and stripes. Strategy 2. Cite fictitious information from unverifiable experts. Read carefully the following information on your screen, paying special attention to those statements marked in red. The statement reads, "It is believed by some historians that the civil flag was discontinued after the Civil War when the federal government imposed military governments in the state and disbanded civil government. As a show of its power over the states, civil flags were discontinued and Old Glory became the sole emblem representing the people of the United States of America, united under military or admiralty law." Now, before we go any further, let's take a look at the source for that specific quote. There is a website called civil-liberties.com, and they've written up the mystery of the forgotten U.S. flag revealed. Just a quick little, oh boy. Look at what we have here. The American Patriot Network. Can you guess what group they're involved with and why it might be important that you believe that this is truly a civil flag? First of all, you should all be asking yourself what historians would believe this. Admittedly, right after the Civil War, temporary Union military governments were placed over the former Confederate governments to keep order, but no action was taken to eliminate non-existent civil flags. The only flags not allowed were the Confederate flags, which were replaced by the Stars and Stripes. If you wonder about the Admiralty Rule comment this refers to, in the red section that you just took a look at, there's an imagined connection between maritime law, a body of civil law which governs maritime questions and offenses, and the imagined military conspiracy. Again, all ties together, folks. Strategy 3. Distort true facts by mixing in unsupported opinions. Again, read carefully the following information, paying very special attention to those statements marked in red. The statement reads, "Through usage and custom, horizontal stripes had become adopted for use over military posts, and vertical stripes adopted for use over civilian establishments. The civil flag intended for peacetime usage in custom house civilian settings had vertical stripes with blue stars on a white field. By the law of the flag, this design denoted civil jurisdiction under the Constitution and common law, as opposed to military jurisdiction under admiralty or military law." Once again, let's take a look at that quoted source. Oh, here we go again. The American Patriot Network. I have to say, there's somebody else that tells that exact same story. I wonder why. So you take a true fact like the Congress in 1777 directed that the United States flag should have 13 stripes alternating red and white and a union of 13 stars, white and a blue field, but without saying the stripes should be horizontal. Then add some imaginary reference to a flag with vertical stripes adopted for use over civilian establishments with blue stars on a white field. Then throw in unsubstantiated references to the Constitution, common law, and a dark military admiralty reference. And the process of deception really begins. The flag for the original U.S. Custom Cutter Service, eventually becoming the U.S. Coast Guard, was introduced in 1799, 22 years after the original flag resolution, and did, in fact, have vertical stripes. 16 because there were 16 states then. Take a look at the following image. You will notice on the right-hand side, you have the Custom Cutter Service flag, 16 stripes. You'll notice on the left, you have the very fictitious and fraudulent quote-unquote civil flag with 13 stripes. What do you think, folks? Does this look familiar to you? Strategy number 4. Add untrue statements that sound reasonable. Again, read carefully the following information, paying special attention to those statements marked in red. Most flag purchase orders were for the military version by the federal government, outpaced by military purchases. Civil flag orders were almost non-existent, as the Coast War was far more than most Americans could afford. You want to guess where this was quoted from, folks? Well, naturally, the demand for a non-existent flag or a flag for one branch of the Treasury Department would be small, and because of this, expensive. How many custom service flags have you seen? And unless you own a boat, how many Coast Guard ensigns have you seen? Again, using statements that sound reasonable, you build a case for the existence of a non-existing flag. It is interesting that the catalyst of this whole myth was in itself a work of fiction. It started in a Nathaniel Hawthorne's novel, The Scarlet Letter, which contains a description of an American customs flag erroneously described as having 13 stripes and calling it a civil flag. Actually, since the Customs Service was not a military branch then, technically it was a civil flag. Here were the view from its front windows adorn this not very enlivening prospect, and hence across the harbor stands a spacious edifice of brick from the loftiest point of its roof. During precisely 3.5 hours of each forenoon, floats or droops in breeze or calm the banner of the Republic, but with the 13 stripes turned vertically instead of horizontally, and thus indicating that a civil and not a military post of Uncle Sam's government is here established. End quote. Here is the source for that little ditty. As you can see, it provided the perfect opening to start a new urban legend. When the newest movie based on Hawthorne's novel showed the civil flag, it added fire to the cause. It has also been helped by the fact that the U.S. Treasury Department flags and ensigns were not standardized until the American Civil War, and each collector of customs was responsible for acquiring flags and ensigns on their own, leading to many variants in both construction and details of insignia. Add into the mix a variety of similar-looking 18th and 19th century flags of the U.S. Revenue Service and U.S. Coast Guard, and the urban legend supporters and conspiracy theory enthusiasts have a rich field to choose from. Take a look at this illustration of an early 18th century U.S. Customs Service flag recently sold at Sotheby's auction. Notice it has 13 stripes instead of 16 stripes, either a variant or the result of a repair. And you can see how this can be generated in a hoax. In conclusion, the urban legend of a civil flag continues to allow conspiracy theory enthusiasts fertile land to plow and a chance to make a little money on the side by selling quote-unquote civil flags and buttons. Supporters of Ron Paul have flown a modern version of the civil flag at Ron Paul presidential rallies, for example. It is also interesting that the same conspiracy theory enthusiasts who make claims for a separate civilian version of the flag also claim that any gold fringe on the flag signifies some sort of admiralty, military, law merchant plot, but that's another story, or rather another myth. Take a look at the final picture I'm going to show you here, showing you the fictitious civil flag variant on your left and on the right, just like Anna Von Wright's page, the quote-unquote civil flag that's currently being sold. By changing our history, which I personally feel should be against the law, all kinds of misinformation and lies are going all over the world.